That's right.
of becoming active because of these pains that I was having in the soles of my feet. So I looked up non-weight bearing exercise. Vibration plate came up. I typed vibration plate in the search bar in Facebook, and your group came up first. And I said, oh, this looks interesting.
Yeah, that's well, and it's I take a lot of grief, and I'll make you retell that. I couldn't remember because I was trying to find something in the group now with all the action I've got going on, but I remember there was, because I don't let hardly anybody in anymore because everybody wants the free training, right?
Right.
But it wasn't neuropathy. I knew there was something with your feet, but I couldn't it was the plantar fasciitis.
Right.
And how did that develop?
Well, I guess I was trying to be active, and I was getting this pain at the bottom of my feet, making it difficult for me to continue.
Yeah.
And
it could be related to the lipedema.
Right, because what I discovered later is that the lipedema fat and tissue can sometimes intertwine in with the nerves. And I also have Derkums. So Derkums and lipedema, they both have that characteristic where they can intertwine in the nerves. I have a stage 3 lipedema, and Derkums, I don't know if it's in degrees, but I definitely have Derkums on top of that. I have much.
Was it Karen that diagnosed you?
I'm sorry?
Did your diagnosis?
Oh, Dr. Nadiv Shapiro from Delaware, Wilmington, Delaware.
I'll get you to give him a plug if you want. I always ask, sometimes doctors are willing, but sometimes the last thing they want is 10,000 women calling, looking for help that he can't provide either. Right.
Right.
So I want to make sure I have my facts straight. So I'll start by asking you, who you are and kind of how we fell into each other. If you don't mind telling the story again about the plantar fasciitis.
You know what? Could I turn my fan off because it's blowing up my blood?
Yeah, go for it. And if you need a drink of water or anything else,
I got one. I just want to turn the fan off. Okay. Yeah, that was kind of distracting. Okay.
All right. We'll run her about 15, 20 minutes, and I'll have 2-3 silly questions.
Okay.
It started with plantar fasciitis.
Yes.
You didn't know about the Derkums then either.
No, neither lipedema or Derkums.
Okay, and that would have been about a year ago.
Yes, I guess May.
Okay,
May of.
I'm going to start by saying, you and I met in a similar way that many people did on my page, but you didn't come in initially thinking about a fat disorder.
No.
Right? I take so much grief over that, calling it that, but I've always kind of thought of myself, okay, I'm a chick on the internet, and I know that I have fat, and I know it hurts, or it's, I'm not looking for lipomas. Right. I'm not looking for, what lipedema, and I know it sounds like a negative to a lot of people that have the diagnosis. I understand we want to call it the proper thing, but you're the perfect example. There's so many people out there that don't know what it is. They're just trying to find out. And we just use the terminology that we relate to, really, right? Right. I'll bring up a stat too, and I'm not sure if you're aware, the banker in me always likes to bring up stats, but I've seen on lipedema.org and a few sites that they are saying about 1 in 9 women are afflicted with lipedema. I think personally, there's a lot, like they say there's only 200,000 with Derkums. I think there's just as much Derkums as there is lipedema, but it's the people with lipedema are under the shadow of the lymphedema, right? So it doesn't get the same attention, but the Derkums is like this little speck under, you know what I mean? So if you have Derkums, you get less attention than you do even, it's less understood, less talked about. So it's kind of a miracle that you had a doctor not only versed, but able to diagnose both. Because I think many do deal with degrees of both. And then all the other crap on top of that. So the stats are 1 in 9, and that's about 30 million women in America, which is the same number of people that have diabetes. Wow. Just, it's a big number. 1 in 9 people have diabetes. Well, everybody knows about diabetes, right?
Sure.
Look at all the things for sale for diabetes. You
Right.
don't need to explain anything to your insurance company if you have diabetes, so that was just an example of, imagine if people knew about this. So, you're that rare example where you got the diagnosis, your insurance company was willing, you got the lymphopress. What I find with most people, even if they do get the diagnosis, the insurance company may or may not be willing to play ball.
Right.
So, or there may not. Jennifer, the gal I was just talking with, she can't offer a diagnosis, but she's in Arkansas. Like there's nobody there that understands it. So she has people drive from all over just because with the pain factor, it's worth the experience to see.
Right.
Don't just go see anybody either. Okay, so it was the plantar fasciitis.
Yes.
Now I know the gastric bypass was before this, but you had some lipedema. You had surgery since we spoke, haven't you?
Yes. Yes.
So tell, what was the first surgery you had after figuring all this out?
The first one was February of this year, or maybe early March. I don't have the date exactly in my
Yeah,
head.
it was early this year, I remember.
Right, and that was he primarily worked on the saddlebag area.
Okay. And who did the surgery?
Dr. Nadiv Shapira in
Same
Delaware.
guy.
Same doctor.
Awesome.
Yes.
Okay. And then anything else besides that?
Then I had a second surgery about 5 weeks later, and that was to do the lower abdomen, the butt shelf, and like a little bit of the flank area.
Okay.
And again, a little bit more off the left saddlebag because I had a discrepancy in size. I was 5 inches larger around the thigh.
Okay.
On the left, so he had to go back in there and remove a little excess tissue.
All right. Anything else?
Well, not related to that. I had my gallbladder removed.
Separate. So you were using the machine prior to surgery. Were you using it after surgery?
Absolutely.
Some of my tips.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And no
initially, I was using it without your tips, but then I reached out to you because I saw I was going a little ahead of myself.
Yeah.
So, and
I overdid it, but no harm done.
Yes. Yes.
And that's good. There's a big difference with someone that's got experience prior to going under the knife, as opposed to people that have had a surgery and now they want to use a machine for the first time. Right. You just haven't gone through all the newbie stuff, right? So the fear is different. Okay. And then last but not least, we'll take a little 2-second pause and then I'll ask you the questions and we'll record them. But was there anything else you wanted to mention? And what else? I know you're doing lymphopress. What else are you doing major for self-care and the vibration machine, of course?
I do some dry brushing.
Okay.
I occasionally use the fascia tool.
Yeah.
I do have the vibration gun, the massage gun.
Yeah.
The professional one.
Cool.
I use that occasionally. I don't know. Sometimes I seem to like it seems to catch my skin for some reason. I don't know if I'm holding it the wrong way. Maybe I need to.
I did do usually with the massage gun, like the machine, get it going faster. Even the second, third highest speed. And instead of applying any pressure, just let it skim.
Yeah. Skim the surface.
And if you got hand issues, like a lot of my seniors that have really bad arthritis or whatever, I just have them hold it. Just sitting there watching TV, just because even that makes the hands stronger a little bit before you go do this.
I think my mistake was I bought the largest gun and I probably should have purchased the smaller one that was more lightweight because I think that's what this gun is a little too heavy for my hands.
I'm gonna do two-hander. Yeah.
Right. So it's something that I could probably swap it out, and maybe I could give this to someone who's got a little more strength because it's not. I think it's a little too heavy for me, for my hands.
Sometimes, a lot. It's like when people say, "What's the best machine?" It depends on you, and kind of what you're doing it for, right? You know, sometimes money's not the only deciding factor. You know, I had a lady this morning and money's no object and she's going to buy the top of the line machine. And I said, well, are you going to move it around at all? And she said, well, yeah, I'm going to put it in my kitchen in the morning. And I said, then you need like the mini.
Right.
You don't want to be moving 50 pounds twice a day. Oh, I didn't, you know, things we don't always think about. We, you know, we always think, and sometimes more bells and whistles doesn't mean more benefits to you in the long run, right?
Yeah.
So, which machine did you end up getting? Vibe machine.
The Waver, and I have the Sonic XL Pro, the massage gun. So.
Oh, I know which one you're talking. I don't have that one, but I do like the look of it. You know, I have enough between my vibra. I gotta start getting rid of some stuff. I got too much. I got like 5 sets of weights sitting here. I got 14 machines I counted this morning.
Yeah.
Most chicks collect purses. Okay. So we'll take a little break. I'm just going to introduce you as Lisa. You know, if you want your last name, that's your business. And I'm just going to, like I say, basically I want to cover, you know, how you found the group. I normally, nowadays, if somebody was looking for plantar fasciitis, I'd chuck them to the other page, but the universe connected us for a reason.
Right.
And it is a more common thing I'm learning. Then we'll talk about, you know, what treatments you've had and how, you know, since you found the right doctor, you're very lucky. And then I do want to just touch really briefly on, you know, what's your go-to, you know, like, I mean, if you're having a bad day, you know, you've always got, there's a bit of self-care, you know, it doesn't always have to be this elaborate thing, but I'd say you're pretty consistent in sticking with something.
Right.
Fair?
Yes.
The lymphopress I love, but you know, I can see you've got a little, you know, it depends if you're a musician and you're on the go, you know, sometimes the gun might be a better fix. You could probably sell it if you did want to look at a smaller one. How often are you doing your lymphopress?
Oh, I use it every day.
Okay. So
3 hours.
What about your Vibe machine?
Oh, I use that for an hour a day.
Okay. All at one go, or do you break it up?
I break it up.
Okay.
I break it up. And I do different, I don't stay in one position. I'll do a seated, then I'll do a sitting, then I'll do a lying down. And
I like that you do both. Like one really complements the other too, right?
Right. Well, I had read that loosens the fluid and then the press pushes it out.
Yeah. And sometimes, hang on, I'm going to take this off now. Sometimes too, it's, you know, especially with the lymphopress, even though it's doing lots of good work on the lymph, a lot of my older real heavy gals, it's the hips and the back, and the machine, you know, helps with the skeletal stuff just from sitting. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's quite a job getting in and out of that, depending on which one you have. So if you do have chronic issues, it's nice to just kind of loosen things up to help get into it, or recover after. So that's awesome. Many do use both. So even if you're not doing a whole big workout, even just a little bit of that lymph is great. And the plantar fasciitis hasn't come back?
Nope.
Awesome.
Nope.
Okay. I'll bring that up at the very end to be funny. Okay, so we'll take a little pause. I don't need more lipstick. Okay. Welcome to Lipedema Awareness Month, more like Lipedema Awareness Week. I am very blessed to have some of our page members just tell me their story. It's not always about being the big celebrity in the lipedema world. There's a lot of really good experience out there, and there's lots of different ways we find each other. Today's a very little special chat. My friend Lisa is here with me today, and I'm going to get you to hear her story, her journey. She's been a member of our group for about a month, and like many out there, 1 in 9 of you do not know you have this condition. A little over a year ago today, Lisa was unaware of what lipedema was. She knew what lymphatic issues were, but she came to the group in a very interesting way. I'd like to introduce Lisa. And if you wouldn't mind, after you tell us a little bit about yourself, tell us why you came to my page in the first place.
Well, I was suffering from plantar fasciitis. And this was about, I'd say, 7 months after my gastric bypass that I had. I was supposed to keep active. and I was having trouble keeping active because I kept having problems with the soles of my feet. I ended up going online to find a non-weight bearing exercise that would be helpful to keep me at least with my circulation. And I found out about vibration plates. Once I found out about a vibration plate, I figured, let me find a group on Facebook, see if anything exists to get me in the groove of how to use it. And I entered vibration plates in the search bar on Facebook, and your group popped up, Vibration for Fat Disorders. And I thought, this looks interesting. Let me join. And once I joined, almost immediately I started seeing people referring to the term lipedema. I'm like, lipedema? And I'm a nurse, so lipedema more to me sounds like something in the blood itself. But I looked further into it, and I followed some of the links that people were putting up about FDRS. I think it was right around the time the FDRS had their annual meeting. So I started watching their videos, and I said, this is me. This is what I have. I have these abnormal pockets of fat on my outer thighs, saddlebags, buttocks, and it was painful. I was bruising. And I said to myself, oh, if this is what I have, let me research this further. And then I went very deeply into it, finding a doctor that could diagnose me. But before I even found the doctor, I found Dr. Herbst online, and I found all the interventions that you could do. So I immediately started with the dry brushing. I got a vibration plate like within the first week. I found out about enzymes. I started taking enzymes. I found out about doing keto. I tried keto for a while. It was helpful, but I have difficulty with doing keto because I have a gastric bypass, and protein is a little hard to digest unless it's pureed, which is not very palatable. So
No.
So that's how I got involved. Eventually I got to see my doctor, Dr. Nadiv Shapira. He diagnosed me in October. And he said I was basically doing everything I needed to be doing, including the vibration plate. And it was because of him I got a lymphopress, which was an extra thing to put pressure on those areas and to press out the fluid that was collecting in my thighs and my hips. So that was very helpful. But I made a lot of progress with the vibration plate alone. It got rid of my pain for the plantar fasciitis. It did give me strength to carry around my lipedema figure. So that was very helpful to me in the first place. It was not going to get rid of my lipedema because I'm a stage 3. So I did have to take the step to do surgery, which I did 2 earlier this year. And now I'm a completely different person. I'm active, I hike, I can dance, I can go bike riding, I can do a lot of things that I couldn't do a year ago. And it's a significant change in my life. I would say about 2 years ago, I would have episodes of being bedbound for almost a month at a time because of my pain in my back and my thighs. I would get bursitis in my hips because of the abnormal way in which one side was larger than the other, throws off your gait when you're walking. So that affected me. So yes, I'm very happy with all my tools and that I
very big year of discoveries for you.
Oh yeah.
You know, and as you're sitting here and I'm listening to you, tell your little journey here, I cannot personally, it looks like I'm looking at a different person a year ago. And when Lisa came a year ago, I don't have it in front of me because I don't retain your answers when you come to the page, but there was something about the way she answered beside the plantar fasciitis. I will invite some people to learn. And, this is the prime example of where awareness and discovery and understanding can change your life. I wouldn't say Lisa's the norm, like the change in not only physical, but knowledge level of where you were a year ago, is like 2 decades for some people. So,
Right.
you were very fortunate to find not only a decent doctor, but someone that was qualified also on the surgery side. And, it's very, very critical when, gastric bypass prior to this, too bad we hadn't met a year prior, but, sometimes you do have other fixes along the way that affect how you can care for yourself going forward. But, I think Lisa's that perfect example of, she took the bull by the horns and embraced and educating yourself is the best defense, the best prevention. There's never going to be one perfect path to treatment. But at least understanding what you're dealing with. She's lucky enough to have gotten that diagnosis, but I kind of get the feeling Lisa's the type of person, even if she hadn't got the diagnosis, she still would have been on the pursuit of self-care, because there was a realization that something else was different. So plantar fasciitis is kind of a common side effect, I guess, or a symptom that can present itself for a couple of different reasons, because we're not doing as much activity, or we're doing too much activity, or it's imbalanced activity, and those muscles are just working harder in to compensate for other deficiencies. So just another example of, of course a machine can fix a bad foot, but when you're dealing with pain in the foot, it's not like an arm where you can tie it up and you can still go for a walk. It can be very debilitating. And, looking for alternative ways, not only to be active, but there's lots of ways you can use a plate without having to bear weight. And, that's a good example of, as your needs and your symptoms change, sometimes you got to change what you're doing. Okay. I know Lisa does do a couple of things very diligently. We were speaking a little bit before camera. She does her lymphopress daily. So for those of you that are not aware, the lymphopress, I would say it's an air compression massage to a degree, medical grade. You do need a prescription for it, but it's a really phenomenal way. For those of you that don't use it regularly, it's a very viable tool for a lot of the folks in our community. But you likely do need a diagnosis and some supporting documentation. You can't just call them up because they're a little on the pricey side. But she's very, the lymphopress is an amazing tool, but just like the vibration machine, it's her consistently using it. It's great if you get this thing, but if it's, sitting in the closet and you're only using it when things are really, really bad, you're not really getting to the root. You're not getting to improving your situation versus just managing and treating symptoms. So she uses it daily. She also uses her vibration plate daily. And then she does have some other tools, but consistent, regular use, whatever your go-to or combination is kind of where I see long-term the improvements. You've lost a tremendous amount of weight, not just the surgeries, but I'm seeing here, when we do lose, I believe we can lose the obesity weight. I don't accept the, people in this community can't lose weight. I don't accept that, because I've just seen too many examples where some can be lost. It really depends on your own individual makeup. Food, unfortunately, is going to be a big piece of it. So, Lisa's an example where, there's examples of what has worked for other people, but you may need to vary and change gears. I don't like pureed steak too terribly much myself either, but, you might need to seek what's going to complement when you know what you need to a degree. And, keep seeking answers and knowledge. And when you find answers and knowledge, share it with the world. I'm really, there's going to be more people that aren't interested, but part of what this series, and these are going to be public on my YouTube later this week, but there's a lot of people that don't realize how common this is. So Lisa came looking for one thing. You are 1 in 9. I was mentioning this before camera too. 1 in 9 are suspected to be dealing with lipedema. Lisa also has Derkham's disease, which is a double whammy. But in the course of a year, just finding this out, you're just the shining example of how it should go. when you
Yeah.
find out about this condition. But yeah, she is keeping up with the self-care. That's why she's returning to other things. Tell me a little bit about life these days and how it's improved.
Oh my gosh. I'm very active. I'm very active. I had periods of, like I said, of being homebound and bedbound due to pain and lack of mobility. And I'm very active now. I'm a nurse, I'm a school nurse by day. I'm a lead singer in a band by night. I gig weekly, at
So
least. I can go out and go hiking. I enjoy that. I enjoy being able to use my body the way I used it maybe 25 years ago. It's fantastic. Um, I don't have the pain. I used to do my gigs. I did my gigs anyway, regardless if I had pain or not. But I would be in agony about like 1 hour into the night. And by the end of the night, I could hardly walk. I'd be just walking with 1 foot apart from the other, just like crawling practically out of the place. But I enjoy the singing. I enjoy the entertaining. Now I don't have that experience. At the end of the night, I'm not having that pain anymore. So
it's very empowering. Pain sucks the life out of you, the energy, and too many of you that deal with it too long, you do build up the tolerance, but the harm it's doing long term, not only physically but mentally, it wears you down. And
sure.
it's very empowering when you realize, a a little bit of activity and education has completely done a 360 for you. So
Sure.
I'm glad you're living life, regardless of how aggressively. Before we got on camera here, I was looking behind, I got rid of all my posters and my stickers, and I'm like, wow, she's got speakers, and that you're living. It's not always about doing a triathlon or we always think we want to do fitness. Or for me, a lot of fitness is just being able to go on that walk or being able to carry an extra set of, it's not so much fitness for purpose, but for functionality and quality of life, right? So
Right.
do what you can while you can. And I just can't thank Lisa enough for listening to. We had a few ramblings on the personal side, and she is absolutely that person that will overdo it. But you know what? I love that you will, because at least you're trying. There's the worst thing you're ever going to do is over exercise, or you can even over pump, so you're a little sore, the next day, get on your machine and shake it off. But it's, I think it's by far worth sitting on, not knowing for months or years at a time, waiting for a diagnosis that may never come. So I'm glad that you're that shining example of how this should flow. And Lisa, where are you located in the States?
I'm in New York. I'm in
She's in
Staten
New York.
Island, New York.
Okay, so we my previous discussion this morning, we got into a little bit of a chat about, it is very much a by state thing, our medical systems, to a degree. So what may be done and okay and allocated for in the state of New York may be different than Texas or what have you. So sometimes in the groups we get frustrated because why can't this doctor help me, or that doctor, they've got parameters around licensing and so forth. So but very commonly in those circles, if that doctor or therapist can't help you, they may be in a better network of someone in your state. And sometimes even talking to your insurance company. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone and ask them questions. I'm sure Lisa spent some time on the phone with them, but sometimes, if there's something that you're not covered for now, but sometimes you can pay additional for a period of time to get certain coverages. Understand your plan, what it offers, and position yourself. Like, don't phone your insurance company and say, hi, I have lipedema and I want you to buy me a vibration plate, because they'll just laugh at you, right? Neither of the things are understood. But the more you arm yourself with information, the more you share this type of information, the more people like Lisa find out and look at the solutions that you've come up with in a year.
Mm-hmm.
Phenomenal. Tell me what kind of vibration machine you have.
I have the waiver, the full size waiver, not the mini.
Yep. And as a daily user, do you have a sweet spot, or, is there a favorite speed or something you lean to?
50.
Yeah.
And I like when I'm laying on my back, I have an exercise mat,
Yeah.
and the top part of me is on the exercise mat, but my back side is flat on the
Yeah.
Plate. And in order to get the maximum shake, like, you have to open your legs, and like,
Yeah.
so you're like this. So it vibrates all that tissue, and I'm sure it's like shaking up all the fluid, which is, then I get into my lymphopress, and
Awesome.
I feel like it helps. I feel like it helps a lot. I love it.
Range of motion required, and yours has improved substantially over the last year. That's awesome. That's awesome. So there's the success story that I wanted to share. Lisa and I have been talking back and forth far too long, so this is far overdue on my part, and I appreciate you. She was a willing guinea pig from day one, and look at how she's changed her life. So I thank you very much for not only trusting me early on. I'm not saying I don't make mistakes around the corner and over exercise the odd person myself, but if you're never willing to try and change your situation, you may never surprise yourself. So thank you very much for not only, being willing to entertain this, but I mean, she dove in and dug this thing apart, and probably is more versed than many doctors out there now. So I thank you for sharing your story, Lisa. It's been a year, and if what I'll do is, maybe in 3 to 6 months, we'll do a bit of a follow-up, but I'm, normally, we'd just be talking surgeries, and you've already got that figured out twice over. So good for you. I'm glad you've had such success. And I want to thank your kind doctor and surgeon for not only understanding this condition, but not wasting any time. He got down to business, and you got on the path of some surgeries and recovery. Like I say, within a year, that's just a phenomenal success story. So thank you for sharing it with us.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
She looks like my pinup girl. If you look back at some of Lisa's posts, but she's always got the curls and the blue eyes. And I thank you very much for your time. We are doing a couple of these, so I will have a couple more posted. And Lisa, for you personally, I've got the live open house on Saturday.
Okay.
If you're able to join, and a few more interviews, like I say, coming up. It's all about awareness. And 1 in 9 have this. So if you suspect someone has, if you suspect you have, my page, there's lots of resources out there. Share this far and wide, and hopefully we can have some more success stories like Lisa. Thank you. Awesome, girl. Maybe it's the stripes too, but you look, I'm picturing you in some little pencil skirt and some red heels or something. No,
well, I have a red shoe on. I do.
You didn't know I was psychic. That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm probably gonna get this up like Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. It takes me a little bit of time and editing, and I want to get the open house over and done with this weekend first.
Okay.
There were a lot of things going on. The open house was huge this month. I have to dress up and do the grad thing this weekend, but I thank you for contributing to this, and I do seriously, 3 to 6 months. Let's not leave this so long next time. Let's check in, and whatever your instrument, it is an environment, right? You can stand, if you want to work on stage presence, it doesn't just have to be a lymphopress or an exercise. I've got a guy, first musician I ever really got intimate on the machines with. He had some damage, and he's a trumpet player. And you'll know this. I can't remember. There's a thing that you can use to blow just to strengthen.
The straw therapy. I had to do it. I had a problem with a paralyzed vocal cord a couple of years back.
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes.
He does his machine time while blowing on that.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Right. There's a million ways, if time, if you become, a huge success and you're on the charts and don't have time, there's always a way to incorporate it. So that's awesome. Thank you for sticking with this, and your body thanks you too.
Exactly.
Thanks. Have a great rest of the night.
You too.
Don't work too hard, girl.
Bye.
Bye-bye.